Welcome to the 30-minute hour. It's the personal development podcast for entrepreneurs and executive leaders who are looking to level up and become unstoppable. I'm your host, Eric Twigs, your procrastination prevention partner. Joining me as always, you know him as the super CEO, the business strategist extraordinaire, and all around good guy, Ted Fells.
Happy Monday.
It is indeed a happy Monday. We may want to change it from Happy Monday to Game Changing Monday, Ted.
Happy game changing Monday.
There you go. That's right. Because they're gonna learn about how to become a game changer in their industry.
Okay.
That's right. Their business and their lives will never be the same after watching this episode because the game will be changed. So let's
No pressure, Roy. No
right.
pressure.
You putting that bar real high, my friend.
Yeah, man. We're gonna take it. We're gonna take it to another level. We're gonna take it to another level. When this
Exactly.
episode is over, up here.
You're talking about changing lives. All right.
That's it. That's it. That's it.
Okay. Let's do
Yep.
it.
Let's do it. We're going to get right to it. So, our guest today, he's a seasoned engineering service sales executive. He's got over 25 years of experience leading global sales and delivery teams to successful innovation. He's currently the head of sales and partnerships, healthcare and life sciences for Intellias of North America. He's also the host of the Game Changers podcast. Please join me in welcoming to the 30-minute hour, Roy Wills.
Thank you.
Let's go, Roy. Let's go, man. Don't let me down. Let's go.
Let's get it. Let's get it. Yep. Thank you. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me, guys. Thanks, Ted and Eric.
Yeah, man, it's an honor to have you on. Definitely want to make sure we give people kind of some background perspective. I know you went to undergrad at Texas A&M.
That's right.
And I'm curious, like, what was your vision for your career when you were an undergrad at Texas A&M?
That is a great question. So, the way I like to frame that is, I was a student athlete, so I played basketball in college. So to be honest with you, as far as having a vision at the time of college, I really didn't have one, because traditionally, the way that college athletes were playing back in the day, and in some cases even now, the focus on by most athletic programs at large universities due to pressure was on graduation rates. So, it was about getting you in, ushering you out, say, hey, we got, the X amount of folks graduated. So use that as a recruiting tool. So, with that in mind, most student athletes got a lot of attention and helped to stay on track for the best, and some would say the least challenging path to success. So unless you were one of those people that, took the bull by its horns and, you know, by no means this is any excuse for student athletes. You got to take control of your own destiny at some point and make the decisions that are best for you long term. So to answer your question, didn't really have one, but figured it out as I figured out that I couldn't play professional basketball forever. So it had to work a 9 to 5.
Okay, so let's talk about it. So you did end up playing professionally.
Yeah, I played in Europe. So really a little more than 2 years. So got hurt my second year. First year I was in Germany, in Munich, played there. Second year I was in Spain, got hurt and came back. And while I was doing my rehab, had surgery, doing rehab, I met up with some folks that went to college with me at Texas A&M, while I was living in Houston. And they convinced me to say, hey, why don't you, while you're doing your rehab, come work at this company called American General, which is now AIG. And fast forward, after a few months, I really started to like it. I got in the master's program at University of Houston, and AIG decided to pay for my master's at the time. So ended up spending 10 years there.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all. So I mean, so playing professional basketball, even playing in Europe, that still puts you like in the top 2% or so of people.
Yeah, you can say that. I mean, obviously, I wish it was a longer career, but on another note, I know a lot of folks that played a long time, and after they got done playing, they didn't have a whole lot of money left, and they didn't have any type of career direction or any mentors that could put them on a path to any success long term.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, like, if you could go back to that time and be a mentor to that younger version of yourself, like, what advice would you give to yourself, knowing what you know now?
Yeah. I would say, because I had a lot of early experience with technology, like high school. I went to a really good high school in New York City, which really geared you up for business careers. Hence, the name of the school is called Murray Bertram High School for Business Careers. Um, so, and I got a long story how I got in there because very early on, I was not a good student, so just because not lack of capacity, just, didn't really care about it growing up. So to get in, so I'll give you the short version. To get into high school, you had to test into my high school. It was plus I lived in Brooklyn, and the high school was in Manhattan. So I knew, just given my academic track record at the time, junior high school, going into high school, that there was no way I could hit that top, 10% to get into this high school going the traditional route. So this ought to tell you a little bit about myself. So what I did was I found a major that made sense to me, that I said that, okay, there's probably no way that there are any guys applying for this major. And if I was to apply for this major, there's probably going to give me an opportunity to get in. So I applied as a as a secretarial science major to get into this high school.
Wow.
Lo and behold, I got in because I was one of one that applied as a male to get in Secretary of Science. So,
Wow.
but knowing that I could get in and then change my major after the first year, that was my strategy back then. So I got in, did secretarial science. I learned how to do stenography and type, and type 85, 90 words per minute, all of that good stuff in high school. And then second year, I changed my career to business information systems and technology. So that's where I learned and a little bit about technology. I was doing a lot of OG coding back then. So things like Lotus, Pascal, DBase, mainframe systems. So those types of technologies. So to answer your question, I would have told my younger self to stay the course in that path, because fast forward, look where we're at now, and from a technology standpoint, imagine where I would have been.
Mm.
Wow.
But kudos to you for thinking strategically. That is really smart.
Yeah.
Hey, I was from Brooklyn, man. We
Figure it
find
out.
That's right.
They got to find a
man.
way.
What do they say, Brooklyn? We get bored with just looking. We we got to make something happen. That's just how it goes.
Okay. All right. So you end up starting your career in the insurance industry.
Mhm.
So, like, how do you talk to us about how do you progress from being in the insurance industry to kind of what you're doing now?
Yeah, I would say the insurance industry is a great place to start your career, because there's so much to learn, and you have to learn very quickly if you want to progress in your career. There's so many layers to the business and that support any successful organization. So I was fortunate to work in product development, which is in our actuarial area of the company at the time. So whether you know this or not, I was an actuarial statistician for many years. So actuarial field, taking exams, all that fun stuff. So because of my role, I worked across a number of different areas in the organization, which really exposed me to a lot of things, so areas like technology, legal, operations, customer service, fund accounting. So the funds that go into some of these insurance and annuity products. So I learned that back then, marketing, state filing. So because I was at such a large company and in a role that cut across all those things, I was able to learn and, figure out the full gamut of the organization of how it functioned. And that kind of propelled me to start thinking, you know, what else is there that I can leverage from all of this experience? So after working at AIG, I worked for another company called Nationwide Insurance in Columbus, Ohio. Same product development, actuarial work. That's kind of where I made the transition and learn more about technology and systems. Um, Due to the side of the business that I was on. And that led me to leave Nationwide after X amount of years to go work with another colleague of mine who was a mentor of mine. His name was Elliot Wallace for a company called LexisNexis. And we basically, our mantra going into that organization was to leverage data and analytics to underwrite insurance products. So this is all older technology now, but newer back then. So it was pretty exciting. And while there, that's kind of when I started learning about the data and data clusters and high performing computer cluster algorithms and data lakes and things like that. And that's when I got really excited about these technologies and how folks were monetizing them to make a lot of money. Let's just say that LexisNexis made a lot of money. Lo and behold, they're one of the biggest data aggregators in the world. A lot of folks just don't know that. So fast forward, that's how I got into consulting and, you know, started leading global sales and delivery teams in the industry.
Yeah, and so now you're the head of global sales and partnerships. Ted, you gonna say something?
Just listening,
Okay,
taking it
just
all
listen.
in.
Okay, I saw you leaning forward. You know, I can read body
No, this
language
is
now.
just adjusting my seat, not leaning forward.
Okay.
Trying to take it all in.
Yeah, feel free to cut me off. I can be a little wordy, so just
No, this is good.
Now, so now you're the head of sales and partnerships
yeah.
For Intellias. So talk to us about what's a typical day in the life for you.
Yeah, most of the days are pretty much never the same. I do a lot of traveling with my team and working across partnerships and clients and things like that. But typical day, I would say, would be driving sales and delivery efforts for the organization, building out short and long-term strategy to support the growth of healthcare, life science, med devices, businesses for us, building partnership relationships for our organization, including cloud partners, technology partners, and niche partners that do specific technology things or industry things for those industries. Coaching and mentoring my team, revenue forecasts and P&L management, and then continuously building my network to help to support me, my organization, and my team.
Okay. All right. And so you decided to also become the host of the Game Changers podcast. So
Yeah.
let's first talk about what motivated you to start your podcast.
Yeah. So the podcast to me was because I've got a pretty broad network, a very broad network from insurance to technology to healthcare to sports to you name it. So I know a lot of folks, know a lot of successful people. I wanted to create a forum where I could, you know, highlight some of the successes of these people and show other folks in my network what it what some of the hard work and what it took to get to that level and give these folks these flowers while I had an opportunity to do that because a lot of these people are, you know, significantly successful in their craft and trades.
Okay. All right. So let's unpack this. And this is really kind of around the theme of the show as far as game changers. What are the characteristics that define a game changer?
Yeah. So it's what success looks like through hard work and determination and will. The shortest distance between 2 points is usually a straight line. However, I don't know one successful person that's had a straight line for their path at all. You know, it's a lot of bumps in the road, ups and downs, so on and so forth. So the characteristics would definitely include creativity, grit, adaptiveness, and also knowing how and when to pivot. It's also knowing how to fail fast and learn quickly from those failures. It's understanding the architecture and landscape but having the courage to burn it all down and start from scratch if necessary. That's a game changer.
Okay.
Boy, I mean that's good, man. But a lot of people, boy, when they hear that, the uncertainty that comes with that. I mean, everyone's not built for that. Like a lot of people want to see it a certain way, know it's there. Hey, the check is there every 2 weeks. You kind of know it. I mean, we look at the situation now. I mean, with the federal government. I mean, the federal government has always been kind of a steady job, right? I remember my grandmother used to say, "Don't leave your good government job." Right? Don't. And when I started my company, I was like, "Yeah," she said, "You do it on the side, yeah, but don't leave. Then eventually, I left and started my company full time. But I look at today and like people are like, one day they've been in an organization 20, 30 years, and then the next day they're not.
That's true. I mean, but you have to realize nothing is for certain and nothing is forever. So whatever you build, you know, a business or a concept, being able to pivot and being able to adjust because the being complacent or thinking that something's going to stay the same way. I mean, look at Blockbuster. What
Yeah.
happened there? So, they thought they would ride that forever. Things change. People change. Needs change. So, there's nothing that's guaranteed. I mean, life isn't guaranteed. You might walk out that door and get hit by a bus, or that's life.
Thanks, Roy. I'm not
That
walking out
will
that
not happen. It won't happen.
door.
But it's anything's possible. So I would
Sure.
say you just, especially in this day and age, you have to be able and willing to pivot and make certain adaptations to our lives. I mean, I think that's just what it is.
So you just mentioned those different characteristics.
Yeah.
Like which one do you feel like is your strongest characteristic as it relates to becoming a game changer? Then maybe tell us about one you feel like you still need to work on and getting better at yourself.
Yeah, I would say for me, it's most of those things for sure, but definitely the grit and the will. I mean, it's a part of my name, so I'm a very willful person, and I'll wear a situation down or whatever, and just there's not. I've always been that type of person. I've never thought there was something I couldn't figure out, and that's basically the example of the high school thing. That's just I've always been like that. It's just been in me. No one taught me that. It just so I'm very good at navigating and fixing things that others just give up on. So that's my strong suit. Obviously, I mean the having the courage and the drive to burn something down and start it all over. I think that's something I picked up later on in life. I wish I was able to do that earlier because it really helps to create the intervals that you need to see how things work and function and how you can particularly make things better over a period of time. So I think that's something that I picked up later on in life, but still learning to grow that piece of it as well.
Yeah, I think to burn something down one is a challenge because a lot of times we get married to our ideas and our way of doing things. And when I think of that, like I think of like Tiger Woods.
Yeah,
So Tiger Woods wins the Masters by like 15 strokes or whatever, and he's
yeah,
out changing his swing.
yeah,
Like where most people would be like, "Hey, you know what I'm doing is working, obviously," but he's, I need to retinker, and to the point where he had an off year because he
yeah.
was basically retooling his swing, but he was thinking down the road.
Yeah, and that's why he's a game changer. I mean, because that's what it's about.
Right.
You never get married to any one idea because things change. You change, your conditions change, or your body changes, your mental state changes. So you have to be able to adapt. Yeah, it's a challenging one for most, but you look at the folks that, start businesses, sell them, start businesses, sell. You have to be a special kind of person for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So who is a game changer? Maybe it's more than one person that's really had a big impact on you.
Yeah. I can name a few. I mean, obviously, Michael Jordan is one that I've always looked up to just based on his tenacity and will and grit and how he was able to get every single ounce out of his body. So I always, compare when people compare Michael Jordan to LeBron, it kind of just it doesn't sit well with me because I go, all right, you take LeBron and you put him in Michael Jordan's body. I bet LeBron wouldn't be LeBron. Let's just say
Yeah.
that LeBron he's very skilled and but he's more gifted, physically. If he didn't have that strength, and size, it wouldn't be the same. Mike was able to get every single to the point. I mean, you've heard stories where he wanted more grip on the ball, so he used to try to like expand in between his fingers and sometimes like almost cut them so you can get more. So if that's not will,
Yeah, I've heard similar things about Kobe as well.
there you
Yeah.
go. So people like that, obviously. So that's one. Um, I would say Elliot Wallace, who's the guy that I left Nationwide to go work for at LexisNexis. So someone that's been in the technology space for a long time and just very well polished and has been successful at all levels. And being a African American and kind of working his way up and creating a certain level of respect, just based on his body of work, how he speaks, how he carries himself, how he's able to handle situations. That's somebody I really looked up to as a mentor while we were working together and beyond. Another one is a friend of mine, Dan Charlier, that lives in Los Angeles, an entrepreneur, very successful, number of businesses, and similar African American guy, immigrant, migrated from Haiti, but worked his way up and, to a very, very successful person, living in Los Angeles. So those are some of the people that, really emulated, some of the characteristics that I really wanted to follow.
Yeah, and when I think about it from my standpoint, Dr. Willie Jolly is someone I consider to be a game changer who's impacted me
Yeah.
on a personal level. He literally just kind of changed the game in speaking as far as his just ability to break out in song in any minute, and
Yeah. Exactly.
just a different different dynamic, and then just the level of hustle
Yeah.
that he put to it. And I even think just someone who's just kind of like a Steve Jobs,
Oh
where
yeah.
literally, I mean, the world is different,
Yeah.
you know,
Definitely.
just because of like I saw a video of him, and he's talking, and he's talking to his team, and he says, you know what, we're going to have a notebook, and it's going to have a computer in it, and he says, you know what, the technology doesn't exist yet, but I just know we can do it. I can just see it, and ultimately we're going to make it happen, and that turned
Yeah.
out to be the iPad.
Yeah.
And this was like years before that technology was even available. But so when I look at somebody that's a game changer, it's almost like they're a visionary. They can just kind of see
That's right.
see
I
things
agree.
out there. So
I,
Ted, I know we had some IT issues. Ted is back with us. I'm sorry, Roy, you're going to say something?
Hey, no, I was saying having those insights and being able to come up with, different ways of thinking of things. I mean, that's definitely game changing. I mean, you who would have ever thought of that? Just like you said, that iPad, iPhone. So just remarkable. I mean, these things that we walk around with now. I mean, it's crazy. Just think back 20, 25 years. Just when we were carrying, back when I was in college, and
Oh, I'm back right on time. We're about to really get into it here. Give
cell
me,
phone.
oh yeah, payphone, right? You got a quarter payphone or calling card? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Every time I left the house, my mom would give me 2 quarters. She said, in case you need you need to call home, just call. Here's
That's right.
yeah, yeah. So it's changed a lot.
It's amazing. Now you have little kids going around with a phone in their hand.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Amazing.
Connecting to the internet, playing all kinds of games, social media. It's on another level. We never thought it would be here, but imagine where we're going to be in 10, 15 years. So,
Scary, man.
Just
yeah,
with AI and everything else. So we kind of touched on this earlier,
yeah,
but what advice do you have for the gut? Maybe they're in the government, but they want to be more of a game changer because they're looking to kind of take control of their future and take things to the next level. What advice do you have for that person who's listening or watching us now that wants to become a game changer?
yeah. I would say a couple things. So, I think it's always important to find a mentor and or an advisor. I mean, there's a difference. A mentor is someone who knows you personally and is somewhat vested in you becoming successful, while an advisor is someone who will be non-biased to aid your professional development. So I think finding one or both of those things are important. I would also say be willing to work hard, fall in love with the process, because whatever it is that you do, you need to, if you're going to do it long term, you need to fall in love with the process. Also, become successful in your craft. I mean, work, through hard work and experience, that in itself will give you the confidence that you need to progress and, you have the ability to navigate through the ups and downs of any industry. So if you become so good, there's always going to be a need for you. So that in itself, it can propel you to whatever you need to be and do. Becoming an industry leader. So in that industry, become someone that your industry looks to for opinions and perhaps even direction. And last but not least, be willing and able to teach when the time comes. I think that's how you prep yourself.
Hmm, interesting. So you say be willing to teach. Talk more about that. Why is that
Yeah.
critical?
So I say to really get to be an expert in something, you think about teachers. You learn every time you're teaching, and you become better and more proficient every time you're teaching. It's even better than study because you have to prepare to come across a certain way. You have to remember. So those things automatically start to infuse you with a certain level of confidence and experience that you couldn't get anywhere else. So I think that's very important.
Yeah, I agree. It's hard to teach something if you don't know it yourself,
That's
right?
right.
Like, I mean, you have to find ways to break it down, to your students. And I feel like in my company, I feel like oftentimes I have to do that with my team. And it's always an illustration. It's always an example to try to
That's
get
right.
into, I guess, some bite size, elements that they can chew and actually be able to hold on to. So no, I can definitely see how teaching is a key thing to tighten up your craft.
Definitely.
Okay. So I mean, and talking more about your podcast, what have you learned or taken away from just some of the guests that you've had?
Yeah, I mean, the one constant for every successful person that I've interviewed on the podcast or I know personally is hard work. I mean, you got to get out there and bust your ass, and you got to invest in yourself. I mean, unfortunately, because of technology and social media and some of these things that have been dawned upon us. I mean, a lot of folks feel like there's shortcuts. Those shortcuts will come around and bite you in the ass.
Eric,
Because
Eric, you didn't tell Roy this is a family show. You didn't tell him it's a family show. Let it go the first. I'm totally totally messing with
hey, they say that on TV now. So I think that's pretty much it. I mean, hard work, determination. I mean, it's just it emulates that across the board. I think these people really have shown me that in order to become, an expert in your field, you got to do the things that are core to building that foundation. And when you do, no one can ever take that away from you. I mean, that's something to be proud of. But I think, nowadays with all the shortcuts, people get a little confused that, I can be an expert in this and that, and no, you can't.
Right. Do you, do
Yeah,
you, do you
go ahead,
think
Ted.
do you think you have to really love what you do?
That is a great question, and that comes up a lot. It depends.
Mm,
It depends on your character, I guess. I mean, because I know people that can be successful and do something for a long time. They don't necessarily love it.
mm-hmm,
They just feel like that they're good at it, if that
mm,
makes sense, or they've gotten good at it. So that there's that side of it. But yeah, if you love it, then you will continue to invest in yourself and continue to grow and be able to pass some of that knowledge on to other folks. So I don't. So I could say yes and no. What are your thoughts?
it's interesting in doing what I do. I really, I really love what I do. Sometimes when it's the weekend comes, it's like, oh, it's Monday. People are like that, and then I'm like, Monday's not so bad. I'm
Yeah,
working for myself. I got my own company. I'm surrounded by people that I like to be around in the industry that I find interesting, like IT, like yourself. It's like it's not so bad.
yeah,
I'm just putting myself in that place because everybody else is like, oh, it's Monday. It's the start of the week again. Monday is just like a Friday for me. And then there are people oftentimes saying, Ted, you're always working, but it's not. This stuff's not really
don't
work
feel like work to you,
to
right?
me, right? Like,
Yeah,
so, I think about things that my parents did, standing on their feet and lifting and doing a bunch of stuff. I'm like, most time I got this in my hand. I'm doing something. I'm on a call. I'm doing virtual meetings. I mean, even before we really even got into this, I mean, we're getting in the car, driving through traffic and do. Now we just send a link. I'm
yeah,
sitting at my desk and you can do about 5, 6 meetings in a day. I mean,
true.
yeah,
Uh,
so for me, I think if you can find something that you really enjoy doing, I mean, I think that's a key thing. It doesn't seem like work. Like I said, it's something that you would do for free.
yes.
Not that I want to do it for free, Roy, but something you do for free.
Hey, maybe you can do it for free. Not all of us can do it.
Look, not yet, not yet.
So I,
Yeah.
I think you made a good point, but I guess let me amend my answer a little bit more too, because I do think that you need to, even if you don't love it, you need to love something about it.
Mm,
So
mm,
for me, do I love everything about what I do? No. But
mm.
there's some things in there that I would do for free if that makes I really, really that's what gets me up. And I'm like, this is why I'm doing this.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Eric.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And it's funny, I was just going to say that. Yeah, I think you have to find aspects of what you do that you love, and if you're, if you have a business, you can set things up and get to
Yeah,
a point where your focus is on what they call the zone of genius, that thing that you're good at, you love to do it, and you can kind of outsource some of the other aspects of what you have to do.
that's right.
But it's interesting. I know you playing professional basketball. I see this watching professional basketball. There's some people who are great at what they do, but you can see they don't really love it.
Yes,
Mm.
that is
You know,
true.
their motivation was to get out of a bad financial situation, get out the hood, what have you, and now they have that. So it's like,
That's right. Eric is just like a relationship. Think about it. Because some people are in certain relationships because of whatever. It's not that they love everything, but they found one or two. That's life. We just have to be able to you know focus on the things that we love and we care about.
Mm.
yeah, but I do think the other side of it is, I think it's a bad idea to go after something just because you think it's a moneymaker.
Mm.
And I've told this before. I've had clients who have confided in me. They bought into a turnkey franchise system because somebody sold them that, and then they tell me they literally hate what they're doing every day,
Mm.
and they're making money. You know, if you look at their P&L and looked at the business, you'd say, "Oh man, he's doing pretty well."
Yeah.
But no, they literally hate what they're doing. So I do think it helps to, if you can find something. I guess there's an intersection. You know, that
Yeah.
you're passionate about it. You've got an aptitude for it. There's a need for what you're trying to do, and that's kind of the ideal.
Yeah, I agree. And I guess let me ask you guys a question. I know this is your show, but I
Right, Roy, right. You asked Roy to flip this thing around, Eric.
yeah, I tend to do that a lot. So for a while, I've done a lot of mentoring or going to schools and talking about careers and technology and things like that. So in this day and age, you have a lot of folks that want the this, but they don't want to do the that to get to the this. So having, fast forward nowadays, you have access to so much information, so many courses, so much this. And people come to me and they say, hey, how do you do what you do? And it seems like a good this, and that industry makes good money, and I'm like, do this, and this. They won't even do one thing. And tell me how you guys have seen that or what you're seeing, because I see a lot of that.
So, I mean, I can start. So, I think some of it is when you look at social media, right? You only see the highlight reel.
Yeah.
Right. You only see Ted, and he's got this company, and he's doing this, he's doing that, he's on this podcast, he gets invited to other podcasts, but you don't see the years and years and years
That's
that
right.
he's been grinding away. You know, when all his friends are going this place, he's working. Or you don't see that side of it doesn't get glamorized.
That's right.
It's that whole thing, that whole saying. Everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. So a lot of times it gets glamorized, but you don't see a lot of people talking about the struggle. Ted, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think it's that. I think everybody, and I think social media has really like added to that, right? Because you look out there and you see all these people that seem like they just got there overnight.
Yeah.
Right. And you're like, you think that could be you, right? And you want the Cliff Notes version of what I got to do, right? You don't necessarily want to do, the grind that comes with it. I mean, they'll say, hey, Ted, man, you can take off whenever you want to. Hey, Ted, you don't have to go. You're right. I can take off whenever I want to, Roy. I don't ever have to go to work. But if I want this company to sustain, I have to do those things.
That's right.
So I think a lot of times people are looking for, like you said, that shortcut. But I mean, going back to what you were saying about just the way information's at our fingertips, and we go back to college days and thinking about, I mean, I guess it dates me, and Eric is close to my age, so I guess you're probably close as well, right? And we think about, we have to go to the library to get information.
That's right.
Right now, you can just Google just about anything, or AI will pull some stuff up for you. It's like that same question that you asked Roy, you could you could ask AI and it'll probably lead you to some place, to get started. So
definitely.
Yes, I don't know. Sometimes it's just I don't know, just people just want you to hand it to them, I think.
Yeah, you're right, and that's a very good point, Ted. I was just telling this to somebody the other day. When we were in school, and let's just say high school, or you're thinking about a career or something like that, or industry that your school might not have a lot of experience in, you would have to go to the library. You'd have to go find somebody to talk to figure out how they got into that job and those types of things. It was so difficult. It was kind of discouraging.
Mm-hmm.
Now they have everything. They have access to everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Sometimes,
think, yeah. Go ahead, Ted.
sometimes I think I'm like, man, I should just go back to school just to see what it would be like with these type of tools. Like just to, you know what? Let me just try it this way
Oh
and
yeah.
just go get a, another degree or something, man. Because it's just so much, But I guess when we were in school, there was
Yeah.
some people older than us that said the same thing.
Yeah.
I wish we had desks. We used to have to stand up all day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So think about me that as far as getting information, it's like my son is 11. He doesn't have to wait for any information. Literally, he can touch his iPad. He can touch his phone. He can, get information at his fingertips.
That's right.
Where
That's right.
we didn't come up. You had, there was a process.
That's right.
So, if you're coming up in today's time with today's technology, yeah, you don't have to go through the process to get information. And it's easy to think that everything is like that.
Yeah.
You
It's
know?
funny. It's funny if you were really on top of things back then. You had encyclopedias in your house.
Oh yeah. Encyclopedia Britannica.
And
That's
you
right.
had man, you were doing it. You had the encyclopedia. It's like, oh, mom, can you get this? I'll get all A's if you get this in the house.
Right. That's right. Those subscriptions. I remember that. Yeah, it definitely was different back then. Now they have access to everything and they're spoiled. I think because of technology, you don't have any excuse anymore to be stupid. You just don't.
Yeah.
You really don't. But believe it or not, some people have found a way, even with technology, to be stupid because they're
That's right.
lazy.
But there's a will, there's a way. I still want to be stupid. Let me do it.
That's right. That's right. You
Hilarious.
literally can find an answer to almost anything at the touch of your fingertips. Yeah.
It's amazing to me, Roy. Sometimes I'll look online and I'll see something on YouTube. And I'm like, who are these people that just do these videos about anything?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I'm cheating the world. Like, I need to just do a how-to video about something because there's one out there for just about anything if you Google for it.
There is. And believe it or not, folks are making money off these things, which is very interesting.
Very interesting.
But again, I don't knock anyone's hustle. I mean, do what you got to do, and if you can find a way to success, have at it. But a lot of those things don't have long-term success. If you build a house on a cracked foundation or no foundation, it's just a matter of time. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Well, good. So we're at the final segment. So Roy, this is Ted's favorite part of the show. It's called Write This Down.
It's not.
This is where we each go around and we give at least one takeaway from today's episode that the people need to write down so they can level up. So Roy, you're our guest of honor. What do you feel the people need to write down from today's episode?
Yeah, so for me, from a game changer perspective, I think I always tell folks to grow your network, but the right network, because it's important to have people that you can respect, learn from, and reciprocate the energy that you invest in them, and vice versa. So I think it's, that's one of the things I always tell folks, is it's easy to create a network, but you need to grow and build the right network.
Mm.
There you go.
Wow.
Grow your network. Write that down. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that, Ted.
Yeah, that's a great one there, Roy. I'm thinking mindset, right? Like, if you're thinking you want to be successful, you want to be a game changer, I think it starts there. Right. Then you're gonna go out and you're gonna do everything that you can do to make sure that happens. Right. Everything within your power. Right. So yeah, you're gonna go talk to some people. You may get a mentor, an advisor. You're gonna Google. You're just gonna do whatever it takes until you get it done.
Yeah.
I really loved your example about getting into the school. I'm like, that right there was strategy, right? And I always say, things should start with assess, strategize, and execute. Right? You assess that situation. Hey, I need to get into this school, but some of those other, it may be a little tight for me to get into, but let me try this route right here, which may not be one traveled most by young guys.
Yeah.
And then once you got in, then you're able to move from there and execute. So I think, that mindset, that says, hey, I'm going to get through this one way or the other. I want to figure that out. I think that's a key part of, being a game changer.
And I'm a hell of a typer now because of that.
You're
100 words a minute.
That's it. And then probably once you got into coding, like there was value in that. Like you knew my mother, she was the same. She was like, look, go take a typing class. I'm like, what? Typing class? I took that typing class, and then I had a job where I had to type for the government, like this like congressional correspondence on a Wang word processor. Nice. I used to come into school for 2 hours. Coming to work for 2 hours, and they'd say I'd get more done than people that had been at work all day. So by the time I got to college, young ladies would come to me, hey, you want me to type your paper? I'm like, no, I'll type your paper.
That's right.
So typing definitely was a necessary thing. And now you get, as you get into the field and you see people are like this.
Yeah.
Still to this day, I'm like, okay, give me that keyboard, man. We're never gonna get out of here with you doing
Pecking.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Good stuff. Now it's all about the mindset. Definitely write that down.
Yeah.
So my contribution to this segment, I think the foundation for me, if you want to change the game, is curiosity. I think you just have to be curious. Like most people just kind of accept things the way they are. Don't ask any questions. Don't even plenty of people sat in taxi cabs for years, right? But one person was like, why do we do it this way? Right. And that person went on to invent Uber. Right. Everybody went and got their movies on from a Blockbuster on a Friday night and dealt with the late fees and lost movies and all of that. Again, one person was like, hey, how can we do this different? I'm embarrassed about these late fees.
Right.
It's got to be a different way.
Yeah.
So I think you just have to embrace curiosity, in whatever you're doing. And that's how great businesses have started. Just started from curiosity. And we've all seen an infomercial or something where there's a product and you're like, oh, God.
I could have done that.
I could have done that, right? That's a great idea.
Done that. The same thing.
Right.
That is true.
So I think that's the key. I think if you want to change the game, you have to start by being curious. Write that down.
Yes.
Right.
I got
all
it.
Right. Yeah, this has been a great episode.
You really have.
So, Roy, thank you for sharing everything you shared. What's the best way for people to connect with you, listen to the podcast, get more information from you?
Yeah, I would say LinkedIn is the best way to connect with me. Actually, it's the only social media that I'm on, and I've been on for like 7 years.
Yeah.
So it's a great network for me, and way to correspond with people, and see what they're working on and share what I'm working on as well. So that'd be great.
All right, fantastic. All right, so thank you, Roy, for sharing everything you shared. And speaking of sharing, those of you listening and watching, don't forget to share the show.
Share the show.
That's right. Don't keep this a secret. Don't keep this to yourself. And don't forget, you can also follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all those podcasting platforms. When you hit that follow or subscribe button, that way it ensures that you'll never miss a future episode. So that's our time for this week's episode. And until next time, have a great one.
Yes. Take care, guys.